Have you ever tried to do the right thing, but it felt like everyone else was going the other way? A long time ago, an entire nation felt exactly like that. The ancient kingdom of Judah was going through a very messy, gloomy period in its history. People were forgetting about God and making poor choices, which made their everyday lives feel a little dark and scary. But right in the middle of that difficult time, there were two bright spots. Two young kings decided they were going to act differently than the crowd. Instead of following the crowd, they chose to rely on God and follow his instructions. Looking at the specific choices these two leaders made can show us how to find our own light when things around us get dark. The first of those leaders was King Hezekiah. He lived in the city of Jerusalem. During his time as king, he had to get the city ready to face a massive threat. This photograph shows an ancient water channel surrounded by stone walls. Hezekiah actually ordered his workers to carve tunnels just like this one to protect the city's drinking water from enemies outside. He needed that water protected because a giant army from the Assyrian Empire had surrounded Jerusalem. They brought terrible weapons and shouted threats over the walls to make the people lose hope. This is an ancient clay cylinder covered in tiny wedge-shaped marks. These stamped symbols record the Assyrian king's exact plans, boasting about trapping Hezekiah inside his own city like a bird in a cage. Most people would panic, but Hezekiah reacted differently. Instead of shouting back or giving up, he prayed and trusted God to handle the threat. Because of that quiet trust, God stepped in and protected the city, forcing the invading army to pack up and leave. Choosing to rely on God acts like an invisible shield when we feel surrounded by frightening things. Years passed, and the people of Jerusalem gradually forgot about God again. The city went back to feeling gloomy and dusty. That brings us to our second bright spot, a boy named Josiah. He actually became the king when he was only 8 years old. Even though he was young, he knew things needed to change. He sent workers to clean out God's temple, which had been completely ignored and left in ruins. While sweeping away years of dirt, the workers found a hidden treasure that had been lost for a very long time. This image shows what they found, an ancient, handwritten Hebrew scroll. It was a physical copy of the lost scriptures. For the people back then, reading these words was like finding a misplaced instruction manual from God, filled with directions on how to live happily. Josiah had the scroll read aloud. Right then and there, he promised with his whole heart to follow those instructions. Inspired by the scriptures, the people cleared away their old idols and committed to living God's way. As they chose to follow these instructions together, a new sense of joy and purpose spread through every home in the kingdom. Reading the scriptures helps us remember what God wants us to do, bringing color back into our daily routines. We don't live in ancient Jerusalem, but the lessons from these two kings still apply to us today. You probably won't have to face down a giant army or rebuild a stone temple, but you will have days where you feel confused, alone, or afraid. When you feel scared, you can do what Hezekiah did, quietly pray and trust that God is paying attention. And when you feel confused about which path to take, you can open up the scriptures just like Josiah to find your instructions. Making those two simple choices gives you a quiet kind of strength, whether you're sitting in a classroom or hanging out with your family. By trusting God and reading his words, you become a light that helps everyone else see the way.